Have you ever walked away from a conversation just feeling totally baffled? Like you and the other person were speaking completely different languages, even though you were using the exact same words? Well, you're not alone. That's the invisible power of culture at play. And today, we're going to crack its code.
Right? It happens all the time. You say one thing, they hear something totally different, and before you know it, you're lost. The thing is, the problem usually isn't the words themselves. It's what's hiding underneath. Culture, you see, is kind of like an iceberg. The part we see, the language, the food, the behaviors, that's just the tiny tip. The real heavy lifting is done by the massive, unseen part below the water, the values, the beliefs, the unwritten rules. That's what sinks ships. So before we dive in, let's make sure we're all on the same page with a few key terms.
Okay, first up, you've got multicultural. Picture a vibrant neighborhood in a big city. You've got amazing food from all over the world, you hear different languages on the street. All these cultures are living side by side. It's a fantastic mosaic, for sure. But the key here is that the pieces of that mosaic don't always interact in a really deep or meaningful way. They coexist.
Then we have cross-cultural. Now, this is where we start comparing notes. It's when you look at another culture through your own lens and you start to spot the differences. Oh, they do that differently than we do. It's a really important step, but there's a catch. Often, one culture is treated as the default, the baseline that everything else is measured against.
And finally, this. This is the goal, intercultural. This is where the real magic happens. It's moving way beyond just noticing differences to actually engaging with them. It's a two-way street. It's about building relationships, mutual respect, and creating something new together. In an intercultural world, everybody learns and everybody grows.
So, how do we get there? How do we build that bridge from just coexisting to truly connecting? Well, it all starts with understanding the two fundamental building blocks of this whole thing, culture and communication. Let's dig in. I love this definition from the sociologist Geert Hofstede. Think about it, the collective programming of the mind. Culture is basically the mental software we're all running. It's the operating system that gets installed in us from childhood by our families, our schools, our entire community. It runs quietly in the background, shaping how we think, feel, and act without us even noticing.
And then you've got communication. Now, we tend to think of it as a simple game of catch. I send you a message, you receive it. End of story. But in reality, it's so much more complex. As this model shows, it's more like a dance. It's a constant dynamic loop of feedback. While I'm talking, I'm also watching you, reading your body language, sensing the vibe in the room, and I'm adjusting what I say on the fly based on all those signals. It's happening all at once. Okay, so if culture is our mental software, how on earth do we begin to understand all the different versions out there? Well, this is where Hofstede's work is an absolute game changer. He basically gave us a practical framework, a kind of cultural map, to make these invisible differences tangible and understandable.
And his most famous idea is this one, the spectrum between individualism and collectivism. At its heart, it's a really simple question. Is the culture's main focus on the I or on the we? And believe me, this one single difference has massive, and I mean massive, ripple effects on, well, just about everything.
Let's break that down. In I cultures, personal achievement and privacy are huge. Honesty often means speaking your mind, even if it's uncomfortable. And if you mess up, you feel guilt. That's an internal feeling. Your conscience tells you, I did something wrong. But flip over to we cultures and the priority is group harmony. Saving face is crucial. And here, a mistake doesn't just bring on personal guilt, it brings shame. And shame is external. It's not just about what you did, it's about how your actions reflect on your entire family, your team, your community. Another huge one is power distance. This is all about how a society deals with inequality and power. In low power distance cultures, the boss is just a person with a different job. You expect them to ask for your opinion, and pushing back on an idea is often seen as a good thing. But in high power distance cultures, hierarchy is seen as the natural order of things. You expect to be told what to do, and publicly questioning your boss, that's a huge no-no. So we have these cultural maps and codes, but where do they really get put to the test? Well, in high-stakes moments, like a disagreement or a conflict. This is when all that hidden cultural programming comes bubbling right to the surface. To even begin to understand conflict across cultures, you have to get this concept of face. And no, I don't mean your literal face. The scholar Stella Ting Toomey defined it as your public image, your pride, your dignity. Here's the thing. The desire to maintain face, to be respected, is universal. We all want it.
But how we go about protecting that face during a conflict is where culture really kicks in.
And this little chart here shows us exactly how that works. Along the bottom, you have how much you're concerned with protecting your own face, your self face. And on the side, you have concern for the other person's face. Your cultural programming, whether you're more I or we focused, is a pretty good predictor of which one you're going to prioritize when things get tense. Let me show you a couple of real-world examples.
Listen to this one. You can almost hear the individualism, right? I, my idea, my solution. This is a classic dominating style of conflict. It shows a super high concern for self-face and maybe a little less for the other person's. Here, the goal is pretty straightforward: to win.
Now, check out the complete flip side. This is a classic obliging or accommodating style, and it's common in more collectivistic cultures. Notice the focus? It's all about high concern for the other person's face, even if it means sacrificing your own wants. The goal here isn't winning the argument. It's saving the relationship and keeping the group harmony intact.
Okay, so we have the map now. We can see the different cultural landscapes and unwritten rules. But just knowing the map exists isn't the same as actually making the journey, right? The final and most important step is learning how to navigate these differences to actually build those bridges.
And the secret is actually pretty simple. It's all about meeting people where they are. When we make small, subtle shifts in how we communicate, maybe we talk a little slower, use simpler words, or even just mirror their posture a bit, we're sending a powerful subconscious signal. We're saying, hey, I see you, I'm trying to connect with you. That simple act closes the social distance between us and builds trust almost instantly.
But let's be real for a second. This process isn't always easy or comfortable. In fact, it's usually the opposite. The scholar Young-Yoon Kim shows us that it's a constant cycle. First, you encounter a new culture, and it causes stress. You feel off balance. That stress forces you to adapt, to learn new ways of doing things. And it's through this messy, continuous loop of stress and adaptation that we actually grow. We become more flexible, more resilient, and ultimately, more interculturally savvy.
And that, my friends, is what this is all about. Using these tools and maps helps us move beyond just being a tourist who compares cultures from a distance. That's being cross-cultural. It empowers us to truly engage with them, to build real relationships, and to achieve that amazing dynamic state of mutual growth that defines being truly intercultural.
So the real question isn't, how do I become an expert on every culture in the world? That's impossible. The real question is, how can I be a little more curious today than I was yesterday? Because every misunderstanding isn't a dead end. It's an open invitation to learn something new. So what's one small thing you can do this week to turn a moment of confusion into a moment of genuine connection?